I'm Emily Longretta, the features TV editor at Variety, and I am very excited to be chatting with the women that are so incredible from Lady in the Lake, starting with our star and executive producer, Natalie Portman. And our star, Moses Ingram. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, what did you guys all think of the episode? Did we enjoy it? So much fun. I kind of want to go back a little to how this all came to you guys and what you were if you were familiar with it before, because of course it's based on a book.
Well, I was very lucky to be brought the book by Jean-Marc Vallée and Nathan Ross, his producing partner, and they match made between Alma and I. And then we developed it for a long time, and then we were very blessed to have Moses join us on the journey.
Moses, were you familiar with the book ahead of time?
No, I wasn't. It was a surprise, but a very beautiful, welcomed one, and it's been the biggest blessing I feel like of my career so far. So it's great.
What, Natalie, for you? I mean, TV is new for you. What drew you to this and made you really want to step into this role?
Well, I think Alma was a huge draw. She's someone who's just so inspiring to work with every day. She really pushes and explores, and you just find new beautiful things all the time, and she's just such a great leader. So it was really exciting to get to work with her, and then to explore this woman going through her quest for freedom in the 1960s, much the way my grandmother did, in the same time period, and sadly blind to a similar quest under very different circumstances that another woman is living right beside her. I thought was really interesting to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Moses, I know that you have said that Cleo, you understood Cleo from the start. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, starting out, I really just had the first episode, but I connected with it so much, it just kind of like latched onto my heart. I'm from Baltimore, that's my hometown. I haven't lived there in a long time, but yeah, I feel like I could see it and feel it. It's like in school we used to say there are some things you just get for free, and I feel like there were a lot of things in Cleo's person that I felt like I just kind of got for free.
I like that, got for free. That's a nice way to put it. Interesting. There's a lot of similarities between Maddie and Cleo. Obviously, a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities with them both being struggling mothers and kind of living at a time that was historically very difficult for women. How did you guys kind of go about those parallels and like how those influence building the characters? Whoever would like to tackle that first.
Sure. How do can you repeat the question?
Yeah, of course. How did those kind of parallels influence how you built the characters?
I don't know if it was something that I was ever conscious of in the making of it. Actually not until the after, when we started doing that first round of press, when people started to point it out so much, how they're both these two women, victims of the time, needing things and having to go about two totally different ways to make those means become a reality, So I don't think I even noticed until later.
What about you?
Well, I think for Maddie, such a big part of her character is how self-involved she is with her own struggle, and how I think that's very human, that sometimes when you're looking inward so much and trying to work on something in yourself, trying to free yourself, it makes you blind to what other people are going through. So because she's really blind to Cleo's story, I needed to, have that focus of her being kind of just obsessed with her own journey and her own ambition and her own need to control the narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you brought up Alma, who's the amazing creator, executive producer, writer, director. I feel like she does everything. She's here tonight also, so we're going to give her a little shout out. Yes, thank you so much. And we have one of our stars, Byron Bowers, is also in the room, so I want to give you a shout out as well. This group, this cast, of course, with Alma at the head, how was that kind of, you guys all forming this chemistry on set? How was that process like for you guys?
It was incredible. I mean, I think that that's a big part of Alma's power is her ability to take care of everyone, bring everyone together, make everyone feel like a team. It was always just like a joyful collaboration, creative process, and it was incredible. And we had the most extraordinary cast from obviously Byron and Ilan and Mikey Madison and Noah Jupe, and it was just like an embarrassment of riches of talent.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, totally. I think that kind of atmosphere is really top down, and she led so generously, and I think it made room for people to feel like you could be in the space, and it wasn't you weren't stepping on anybody's toes by saying how you felt or how you thought maybe it's the best idea wins sort of situation, which I really appreciated. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought everybody was so cool, and it makes working easy when you feel safe with the people that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I assume we have a good amount of actors in this room, and I'm always curious how you kind of tap into the heavier roles and tap out of them. What is the biggest challenge in that? Because some people it's harder to dive in, some it's harder to get out afterward.
I want to hear your answer.
Well, I have kids, so I feel like that's the luckiest thing, that you're sort of forced to tap out. You can't bring home your shit. Having said that, this was a particularly hard one just because it was energetically so consuming. I mean, it was extremely long. Every day was really dramatic and challenging, and it was just energetically like sapping. And so, I could leave the material behind, but just like I didn't feel that I could like run around and like be fun, like I came home and I was like, Mommy's tired,
A big way in for me is music. I mean, it really does just immediately transport you somewhere else in such a beautiful way. You know what I mean? And so that is really my heart in a lot of the times, and really strong games of what if. And then, this project in particular, ending it, by the end of it, I think this was the first time I ever actually had feelings of like a weird blurred line, like, damn, I miss my kids. I ain't got no kids. So, things like that, I guess I'd say.
I don't even know how to transition from that, guys. I don't even have anything up my sleeve for that. I feel like because of how the story was, your characters didn't have too many scenes together, but there were a few. So what made it special about that, and how were those scenes like when you guys got to work actually together on screen?
I mean, it's nice talking to a lot of actors. I don't want to assume that everybody is an actor, but I think, there's this feeling when you like want it real bad, and you're watching. You spend so many hours watching. You watch when you feel good. You watch when you feel bad. You watch when you want to pick anything. You're just watching. And Natalie, truly, I'm like not just saying it, it's someone that I've always just watched. I remember, when I first came in, and Alma sat me down and showed me a sizzle reel of everything that has been shot so far, and it was obviously all of Natalie's coverage. And I remember watching, being like, oh fuck? You gonna put me next to Natalie Portman? That is crazy, you know? And you know, the kid in me wanting to rise to the occasion of someone who's such a great talent. And so, you know, sitting across from her at that bench, and then on top of that being warm, because sometimes you don't get so lucky when you meet people that you admire. That is a real thing. But I was like, oh my god. So yeah, it was a really beautiful experience for me. Yeah, it was.
Well, thank you. And I mean, it was just extraordinary getting to watch Moses and act opposite her, as you've seen. And if you haven't seen the rest of the series, you will see she's just the most extraordinary actress. And it's just like demands truth when you have to be opposite her. And you came in really difficult circumstances too. Like Moses came in kind of last minute, not a lot of time to prepare, not everything was written yet. Like you had to like shoot end scenes right at the beginning, and it was so amazing. She was just so extraordinary and able to tap into this person that I think like as soon as we saw her act, we knew who she was, and everything else became so clear. Like the whole series crystallized because of your performance. And yeah, it was very, very lucky. So hopefully we'll get to do it again with more scenes together.
Yes, please. I know you mentioned, Moses, that you're from Baltimore, but how much did you kind of look into, did you either of you look into what the world was like in Baltimore in the 60s? And like, was that part of your research?
I'd always grown up as a kid hearing stories of what the city used to be like. And there's a very different Baltimore than the one that I grew up in. You know, the idea that people came to Baltimore like it would have been New York or something was crazy. And I think everybody involved did such an amazing job of really lighting it up in such a beautiful way. It just makes it so much easier to like fall into everything. Just a really tactile world, you know, thanks to Shiona and JC, obviously, Alma, you know what I mean? It just was so rich, beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you do research before tapping into this?
Yeah, well, first of all, my grandmother was born in Baltimore, so I have roots also, which is so wild to think our grandparents were, you know, walking the same streets 50 years ago or whatever. But so I had some like family history that I also looked into, figured out where they lived and all of that. And then Alma actually gave us incredible research of images of what the city looked like, you know, video clips of interviews of people at that time, articles about the Jewish and Black communities in Baltimore during that time. And really there was like so much to draw from, so much to learn about.
As someone who read the book and saw the show, and they were both done very differently, I'm curious what you guys hoped people got out of this show. What was your hope going into this?
Well, something that Alma and I talked about a lot when we first were conceiving it was kind of considering how someone who is oppressed can also be an oppressor, and really like investigating that kind of contradiction, and then also just these stories of women trying to free themselves, and you know how sometimes you can be blind to someone next to you going through the same thing when you're so wrapped up in your own.
Yeah. You can applaud. Do you want to add anything?
You know, starting out, I don't know if I can honestly say I started out for hope, but I did start out with gratitude. And I feel like, you know, gratefulness, you know, pours into the work. And I think I like to hope it affects people in one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's from actors that I speak to usually talk about what what they were able to take from this character and put into their own life. Is there anything you would have wanted to take from your character to bring into your own life?
Maddie's kind of rough. I don't know.
Just a little rough.
I don't know if maybe belief in herself. I don't know.
That's a good one though.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a particular thing that I would take from Cleo, but I do feel like Cleo changed me. I feel like there's a Moses before I did Cleo, and there's a Moses after, irregardless of, anything that has happened or will happen with the show. My person has been changed by doing this, and it's really just, I feel like made me better. It's made me a better artist, really changed the way that I step when I do. So
I'm sure that's not something you can say about every role, so that's a nice add-on. Is there a scene that stands out to you guys that was the most difficult to film?
Oh, the pool.
yes.
There's a scene that we literally started during the day, went through the night, and ended in shooting
Daylight
the
to
day
daylight.
again.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And we were like wet and in
Cold.
sequins and
It was hot,
wigs.
but
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah. It was a delirious day.
But it was also so dreamy.
It was so fun. It's always fun with
Yeah.
Alma. It's always fun. But that was probably the hardest just because it was long.
Was it more emotionally taxing than physically taxing overall filming?
For me, I would say yes. I reached a point in filming where I was like, oh God, I don't know if I can feel anything else. I think I might be numb. But we worked with this wonderful woman named Kim Gillingham, who I had worked with before I had actually started this project. And so then when I heard she was on, I was like, oh yes, like this is amazing. And she does dream work. And it's amazing because she'll just be talking to you about what's going on. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I feel like I can give something else. And I think that's just also really beautiful work that contributed to work on screen.
Is there any advice that you would give yourself if you had to start this process over again before you started Lady in the Lake?
Get a shaman. We had a lot of weird stuff happen while we were shooting that we would kind of look at each other sometimes and be like, are we cursed? Because someone fell and broke his collarbone walking up the steps in the middle of the day, and a trailer blew up at base camp, stuff like that, every day. And so I think we needed a witch to come in. I don't know. Sage the set, exactly.
Moses, any advice you would give yourself for the beginning of this?
Nope.
I don't know how you top that. I don't know.
No, I don't think I can. I think that's it.
All right, well, I think we're out of time, but thank you guys so much for being here today.